right now the priority for the government of India is to evacuate the students and pilgrims first. And that is exactly being executed. A first batch has already reached. We could expect more students to reach Armenia in days to come. In fact, the other routes are also being explored, especially shipping route to UAE. In fact, Foreign Minister Jaishankar yesterday spoke to Emirati counterpart, and we've been told that that particular discussion was to seek the help of UAE in getting Indians evacuated. So, India is using all its diplomatic might to get help from the neighboring countries of Iran to get Indian students evacuated. But given the dynamics, the situation is evolving with each passing hour, and it has drastically changed in the last 24 hours. One was expecting before Saturday, that this was done to put pressure on Iran to come to the tables and lock the deal with the United States. But it was much bigger, and it went beyond that. Both sides have climbed up the escalatory ladder, and in fact, it looks like.
Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Kritsween Walia. Viewers, just days after the tragic Dreamliner AI-171 in Ahmedabad crashed, a string of mid-air technical glitches have raised serious aviation security and safety concerns. It's also left the flyers anxious to an extent. Multiple aircrafts, including Boeing 787s, also Airbuses, have reported these technical snags, which has also forced emergency turnbacks or long delays. Let's take you through some of these instances in particular and visual evidence that's also come in on the same. This is the Air India San Francisco Mumbai flight. It was grounded in Kolkata. Kolkata is where it was supposed to make a scheduled stopover. But upon encountering this technical issue, passengers were deplaned as a precaution. That's the first instance. You can also see passengers making their way out of the plane while taking out their luggage. Smoke was detected emanating from the left side wheel of a Saudia plane. That's the second such instance that's come to light, once again triggering a lot of panic. Now, this airline also had about 250 passengers on board besides the crew. So after it landed at Lucknow's Chaudhry Charan Singh International Airport from Jeddah, this is the kind of technical issue that it developed or it encountered, and following which people were asked to get off the plane. They were disembarked alongside the crew. Not just this, another such instance we've picked up in the last few hours alone. This is a British Airways flight. It suffered a technical snag. This flight was en route to India, to New Delhi, London to India, had turned around mid-air. So it was airborne for about 2 hours when it suffered a flap failure with technical issues surfacing in quick succession. This is what we've picked up, a quick glimpse of how that technical issue looked. This is a British Airways flight, but do remember this was also a Boeing 787, the same Boeing 787 model that crashed in Ahmedabad. Like I said, these instances coming to light in quick succession has raised a couple of questions. Aviation authorities are now facing growing pressure to review aircraft maintenance and operational checks as well. Let's talk about some other issues that some of these airlines have developed and how all of this, viewers, has happened right after 12th of June. 12th of June is when the Ahmedabad crash took place. On the 17th of June, Ahmedabad-London Air India flight cancelled due to technical issues. This happened earlier today itself, and we spoke to one of those passengers who was scheduled to take this flight. They were informed about this technical issue once they had reached the airport minutes before the flight were to take off. Prior to that, 16th of June, Air India flight suffered a technical snag. Passengers were asked to deplane in Kolkata. Like I said, this was a scheduled stopover, but upon encountering a technical issue, the passengers were asked to get off the plane. Again on the 16th, the very same day, Hong Kong Delhi Air India Dreamliner. This once again was a Boeing 787. It returned, it took a U-turn went back to its point of origin, which was Hong Kong, after encountering a technical glitch. Even before that, on the 15th of June, London-Chennai British Airways Dreamliner that we were just talking about also returned mid-air. This was airborne for about 2 hours, and once it encountered a technical snag, the pilot, obliging the established protocol, went back to the point of origin. 15th of June, once again, a Zurich-Delhi Air India Dreamliner 787 delayed after developing a technical issue. Saudia flight that we just showed to you also faced landing gear issue at the Lucknow airport, and clearly you could see on the left wing of the plane a smoke coming out, which was then addressed by the technical team that reached the runway to address the issue. These are some of the incidents that have taken place in the last few days alone. Going across to Anvit Srivastava for a quick update on the same. Anvit, any formal communication that's come in from the Aviation Ministry? We do know about that all-important meeting that was being held by the DGCA. Some of these airplanes which have encountered a technical issue are Air India, Airlines. Any communication formally that's come in from the airlines? What more do we know about this repeated recurrence?
See, Krichin, if you talk about past 1 week, or let's say 3 to 4 days per se, multiple Air India flights have experienced returns, technical snags and crew duty delays, specifically since the deadly Air India plane crash that happened on June 12th. The airline is certainly facing intense scrutiny, specifically after the Boeing Dreamliner 787 crashed moments after taking off, and 241 passengers had to lose their life out of 242 those were on board. But the most recent being the, like you mentioned, the Gatwick-bound Air India flight AI 159 from Ahmedabad. It was the first flight after the Ahmedabad crash, the first Ahmedabad to London flight. It was, and that also was cancelled. However, the airline has said that it was cancelled because of aircraft unavailability. Because you were talking about what communication has been there from the airline. So they have communicated that it was because of aircraft unavailability following airspace restrictions, is what they have said. But see, the technical snags have been a repeated issue, because before that, yesterday it was AI 315 Hong Kong to Hyderabad flight that took off from Hong Kong around 12:30 p.m. local time, and it had reached a height of 22,000 feet before descending, and it had to make a U-turn returning to Hong Kong International Airport following a technical glitch. Now, this was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft, and so was the British Airways flight that you also mentioned, that was coming from Heathrow to Chennai and had to return to its base for technical checks. But other than these, Air India flights from Phuket to New Delhi also had to make an emergency landing. However, this was because of some bomb threat that was one of the messages found in the lavatories. But see, following such repeated incidents, the regulatory authorities are also on alert, and DGCA has also held a meeting with the Civil Aviation Secretary and other senior officials, and also of the senior airline officials, representatives who were there in the meeting, and certain measures have been talked about and they've been discussed at length as to how these incidents can be reduced. But alongside the DGCA and DGCA, the UK and US authorities have also launched probes and ordered a comprehensive inspection of not just Boeing 787 fleet, but also the other aircraft that have been involved in recent incidents. But also one thing we need to understand, that these have been technical glitches, is what the term that is being used by the airlines. But this is an umbrella term. A lot of technical snags would come under it, be it flap related, be it wings related, be it fuel contamination or fuel supply related. It could be power related, nose wheel related. So there are multiple issues in an aircraft, and the technical snag is an umbrella term. Depending upon what is the magnitude of the snag, the flights are grounded. Many flights that have been asked to return, they have also been done precautionarily following the Ahmedabad
crash. These issues being addressed now that it's happened. Fortunately, no lives have been lost. Nobody has been hurt in these incidents. But there are U-turns that have been taken by some of these flights. They've returned to their point of origin. Proper delays that have happened. A lot of inconvenience has most certainly been caused. With how is that being addressed by each of these airlines concerned? Any established protocol in place or announcement that's come in to address this issue?
I was coming to that, Kitchen. Once such planes are grounded following technical snag, which is an umbrella term, but after the specific glitches are addressed, they are asked to return to base and for detailed checks. Once the plane is grounded, they are usually sent to secluded bay for a detailed inspection by technical staff and experts.
Okay,
From the
apologies,
airline.
Anvit. I'll have to interrupt you there. We're picking up related news. We need to quickly break down for our viewers. Air India's flight from Bangalore to London has also been cancelled. It's been cancelled due to a complete investigation of the Dreamliner 787. Till now, 3 international flights of Air India have been cancelled. The Ahmedabad to London flight, Delhi to Paris, and now Bangalore to London. Vivek Gupta joins us with more details. Vivek, ये जो बेंगलुरु से लंदन की फ्लाइट है अब कैंसिल हो गई है, क्या जानकारी मिल रही है, क्यों कैंसिल की गई फ्लाइट?
देखिए, आपको बताना चाहेंगे कि 12 जून को जब अहमदाबाद इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट पर AI-171 जो अहमदाबाद से लंदन की उड़ान भर रहा था, तो उसमें ये हादसा हो गया था। और ये हादसा ड्रीमलाइनर 787 में ये पूरा हादसा हुआ था, जिसके बाद कई सवाल खड़े हो गए थे कि जो सबसे जो सेफेस्ट एयरक्राफ्ट होता है ड्रीमलाइनर 787, उसमें इतना बड़ा हादसा कैसे हो गया। उसके बाद ही DGCA और साथ ही साथ एयर इंडिया के जो टॉप बॉसेस हैं और जो टॉप लेवल के मैनेजमेंट हैं, उन्होंने डिसाइड किया है कि जितने भी ड्रीमलाइनर एयर इंडिया में हैं, उन सभी ड्रीमलाइनर्स एयरक्राफ्ट की पूरी तरह से जाँच की जाएगी। और ये लंबा प्रोसेस होता है, किसी भी ड्रीमलाइनर के पूरे A to Z उसमें जाँच होती है, उसके इंजन, उसमें जितने मशीनरी लग रहे थे उन सब की जांच की जाती है। इसी वजह से इसमें लंबा समय लग रहा है। यही वजह है कि ड्रीमलाइनर जो कई एयरक्राफ्ट हैं वो जांच में, और जो मेंटेनेंस डिपार्टमेंट है उनकी जांच कर रहे हैं। इसी वजह से कई एयरक्राफ्ट समय पर नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं, और जिसकी वजह से आज 3 इंटरनेशनल फ्लाइट एयर इंडिया के कैंसिल हुए हैं। पहली फ्लाइट जो कैंसिल हुई थी वो अहमदाबाद से लंदन की थी। ये इंपॉर्टेंट फ्लाइट थी अहमदाबाद से लंदन, क्योंकि यही फ्लाइट जो पहले इसका नंबर AI-171 था, क्रैश होने के बाद जो एक ग्लोबल नॉर्म्स होते हैं कि नंबर चेंज कर दिया जाता है, उसका नया नंबर आज है AI-159, जो हादसे के बाद पहली बार अहमदाबाद से उड़ान भरने वाली थी।
बट विवेक, कंप्लीट इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए तो AI-171 के प्लेन क्रैश के बाद भी सारे प्लेन्स ग्राउंड नहीं करे गए थे, तब भी बोइंग 787 ऑपरेशनल थी। तो उस समय से अब के बीच में क्या इन टेक्निकल इश्यूज की वजह से अब ये प्रॉपर जांच कैरी आउट की जाएगी?
देखिए, इस पूरे मामले में एयर इंडिया के जो टॉप मैनेजमेंट है, उन्होंने डिसाइड किया है कि वो कोई भी रिस्क या कोई भी चांस नहीं लेना चाहते हैं कि जिस तरीके से जो 12 जून को जो ड्रीमलाइनर का हादसा हुआ था, उसके बाद टॉप मैनेजमेंट ने डिसाइड किया कि एयर इंडिया के जितने भी ड्रीमलाइनर्स हैं, खासकर 787 जो लॉन्ग रूट्स पे चलते हैं, उन सब की जो एयरक्राफ्ट है उसकी पूरी जांच की जाएगी। जांच करने के बाद ही उसे वापस फ्लाई करने की परमिशन दी जाएगी। जांच करने की वजह से कई ड्रीमलाइनर जो है उनका मेंटेनेंस जो है वो अभी जांच हो रहा है कि क्या उसमें कोई खराबी है या नहीं है, उनके इंजन किस स्टेटस में है, और जो उनकी जो कॉकपिट में जितनी मशीनरी लगे हैं वो किस स्टेटस में है, उनकी पूरी जांच कर रही है। एयर इंडिया के सोर्सेज का कहना है कि इसी जांच की वजह से कई ड्रीमलाइनर जो हैं वो अभी फ्लीट में नहीं है और समय पर बाहर नहीं आ पा रहे हैं, जिसकी वजह से आज 3 इंपॉर्टेंट जो इंटरनेशनल फ्लाइट रूट हैं, दिल्ली टू पेरिस, बैंगलोर टू लंदन और अहमदाबाद टू लंदन, ये 3 फ्लाइट को आज कैंसिल किया गया, क्योंकि जो एयरक्राफ्ट थे वो अवेलेबल ड्रीमलाइनर के नहीं थे, मेंटेनेंस की वजह से और जांच की वजह से।
जी विवेक, आपने बहुत अहम बात करी है। अहमदाबाद से लंदन की जो फ्लाइट थी, जो आज के लिए स्केड्यूल थी, जो कैंसिल हो गई है, वो पहली ऐसी फ्लाइट थी अहमदाबाद से लंदन AI-171 के क्रैश के बाद। कोई स्पेसिफिक जानकारी एयरलाइंस की ओर से की गई है कि ये कैंसलेशन क्यों अनाउंस किया गया?
देखिए, ये जो अहमदाबाद से लंदन की फ्लाइट है, उसमें भी यही रीजन बताया जा रहा है कि जो ड्रीमलाइनर जो एयरक्राफ्ट हैं वो समय पे अवेलेबल नहीं थे। जो टाटा और एयर इंडिया के मैनेजमेंट ने जो फैसला लिया है कि जितने भी ड्रीमलाइनर की फ्लीट है वो वहाँ पर पूरी तरह से जांच की जाएगी, पूरी से मेंटेनेंस के लिए उसमें जांच हो रही है कि क्या उसमें कोई तकनीकी खराबी या कोई दूसरे इश्यूज है या नहीं। ये अहमदाबाद के लंदन की फ्लाइट आज बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट थी, क्योंकि क्रैश होने के बाद ये पहली बार अहमदाबाद के इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट वल्लभ भाई इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट से फ्लाई करने वाली थी। ये फ्लाइट शेड्यूल थी, 3:30 बजे के आसपास इससे फ्लाई करना था और इस फ्लाइट पर सबकी नजरें भी थी। नजरें इसलिए भी थी क्योंकि 12 जून को ये फ्लाइट जब AI-171 जब उड़ान भरी थी, उसमें 242 लोग थे, जिसमें से सिर्फ एक ही लोन सर्वाइवर बचा, बाकी 241 की डेथ हो गई थी। और जैसा मैंने आपको बताया कि ग्लोबल नॉर्म्स होता है कि अगर कोई भी एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश होता है तो उसके जो नंबर होते हैं वो पूरी तरह से चेंज हो जाते हैं। उस नंबर को परमानेंट तरीके से उसको रख दिया जाता है क्योंकि इन्वेस्टिगेशन और ये ग्लोबल नॉर्म्स है। जिसके बाद एयर इंडिया ने AI-171 का नंबर चेंज करके AI-159 रखा था, जो नया नंबर था। आज उसे पहली बार ऑपरेट होना था, आज उसे पहली बार फ्लाई करना था अहमदाबाद से लंदन के लिए। लेकिन जैसा मैंने आपको बताया कि एयर इंडिया के जो लोग हैं वो सभी ड्रीमलाइनर्स को चेक कर रहे हैं, मेंटेन कर रहे हैं, और ड्रीमलाइनर की मेंटेनेंस में समय लगता है, इसलिए मेंटेनेंस डिपार्टमेंट है वो ड्रीमलाइनर को
ये
समय
सवाल
पे
भी
नहीं दे
पैदा होता है कि ये आखिर में या लास्ट मिनट क्यों जानकारी पैसेंजर्स को दी जा रही है, क्योंकि हमने एक ऐसे पैसेंजर से बात करी जो इस फ्लाइट पे होते, उनकी लंदन की फ्लाइट थी, उनको अर्जेंटली लंदन पहुंचना था और उन्होंने कहा हम एयरपोर्ट पहुंच गए थे, उसके बाद हमें ये जानकारी मिली। इस बात पे कोई क्लैरिफिकेशन है एयर इंडिया की ओर से?
एग्जैक्टली देखिए, ये एक बड़ा इशू है। इसको लेकर एयर इंडिया के ऊपर लगातार सवाल खड़े हो रहे हैं कि जब एयरक्राफ्ट समय पर नहीं पहुंच पा रहा है, मेंटेनेंस डिपार्टमेंट अगर आपको रिपोर्ट नहीं दे पा रहा है कि एयरक्राफ्ट की पूरी जांच हुई है नहीं हुई है, उससे पहले आप पैसेंजर्स को बताइए। लेकिन एयर इंडिया के सोर्सेज का साफ तौर पर कहना है कि उनको लग रहा था कि मेंटेनेंस डिपार्टमेंट से एयरक्राफ्ट जो ड्रीमलाइनर मेंटेनेंस के लिए गए हैं, चेकिंग के लिए गए हैं, वो समय पर शेड्यूल समय पर आ जाएंगे। लेकिन देखिए, आज 3 जो इंपॉर्टेंट रूट्स हैं, पेरिस और 2 लंदन के जो रूट्स हैं वो कैंसिल हो गए हैं। पैसेंजर्स के रूप में लोग बहुत ज्यादा नाराज हैं। अहमदाबाद एयरपोर्ट पे तो लगभग सारे पैसेंजर्स पहुंच चुके थे, क्योंकि देखिए जो नया रूल्स और नया जो पहलगाम अटैक के बाद सभी एयरलाइंस ने साफ तौर पर कहा है कि इंटरनेशनल फ्लाइट के लिए आपको एयरपोर्ट पर तकरीबन 5 से 6 घंटे पहले आना जरूरी है। लॉट्स ऑफ चेकिंग होती है, सिक्योरिटी चेकिंग होती है, बैगेज चेकिंग होती है, उसमें समय लगता है। तो उसके बाद भी कम से 5 से 6 घंटे पहले सारे पैसेंजर्स जो थे AI-159 जो नया नंबर है और अहमदाबाद लंदन फ्लाइट का, सारे पैसेंजर शेड्यूल टाइम पे पहुंच भी गए थे, लेकिन लास्ट मोमेंट में उनको बताया जाता है कि उनकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हो गई है। सेम चीज आज दिल्ली पेरिस फ्लाइट में भी हुई, वही चीज आज बैंगलोर लंदन फ्लाइट में हुई। तो नॉर्मल है कि पैसेंजर काफी नाराज है, वो मांग करें अगर फ्लाइट कैंसिल भी हुई है तो एयर इंडिया उनको कम से कम 24 घंटे पहले ये इन्फॉर्म कर सके उनकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल है, ताकि वो ज्यादा परेशान होकर एयरपोर्ट पे ना पहुंचे।
ना 24 घंटे का समय दिया गया विवेक, और भी ज्यादा नाराजगी इस पे दर्शा रहे हैं पैसेंजर्स की उसी दिन सेम दिन उनकी फ्लाइट्स रीस्केड्यूल नहीं की गई और सवाल उठा रहे हैं कि ऐसा क्यों। विवेक, धन्यवाद जुड़ने के लिए, थैंक यू फॉर गेटिंग अस ऑल दोस डिटेल्स। Anvit Srivastava continues to stay on with us as well. Anvit, now given these repeated technical issues that have been reported on some of these airlines, some of them are Air India planes too, why are we seeing suddenly some of these flights, Air India flights, being cancelled? Is it also to do with the DGCA meeting that was to take place today and the directions that have come in from the top?
See, largely these are precautionary measures, and also because there have been some technical glitch reported on some of these aircraft, whether they were mid-air or they were during the pre-flight checks. Following that, these flights have been cancelled. There are technical reasons as well as operational reasons, like Air India previously said that their aircraft was unavailable because of airspace restrictions. So there are multiple factors as to why so many flights have been back-to-back cancelled or have been called back on base for repeated checks and re-inspections. But see, keeping in mind that there were not only Dreamliners that were involved in these incidents, there have been other aircrafts like Boeing Max 7 and 7 have been also involved in some of the incidents, and there were other aircraft also other than Boeing. But the important thing is that following the crash that happened in Ahmedabad and the misfortune incident, that it was that 241 lives were lost. Following that, these technical snags, are being taken very seriously. No such snag is being left unchecked, and therefore, whatever snag, whether particularly on Dreamliner 787 Boeing, if any snag is reported, the flight is being asked to return to base so that it can undergo another round of checks, and only once the experts are ensured that yes, the flight is fit to fly, the aircraft is fit to fly, and only then the green flag is being given.
But Anvit, in addition to this, Arunima was also sharing with us just a few minutes ago how DGC has asked Air India for training data of pilots, dispatchers of crashed planes, etc. Have those kind of protocols not been in place prior to the AI-171 crash?
these protocols have always been there. DGCA is the regulatory authority, the main regulatory authority of aviation in the country, and following any such crash, such mandates are imposed on the aircraft and the airline involved. Air India has been asked to give all the basic details and documents related to the plane that was in use, and also the crash that has taken place, the incident that was involved. Other than that, other airlines that were taking part in this meeting, they have also been asked to do the same, just to make sure and just to make it another a double check on their part, to ensure that all the flights and all the airplanes that are in use at present with every airline, they are fit to fly. So another, it's just a second check that will be done on the aircraft that are available with airlines, and those that are in service. It is being ensured only to make sure that all the aircraft that will be airborne from India,
Right.
or be it international or domestic flight,
Okay.
they are fit to fly, and the certification will
Okay.
also be rechecked. It has also been asked that the training.
It's a developing story, Anvit. We'll have to closely track this, and we will keep coming back to you as and when you have more inputs to share. For now, over to Anand Narsimhan for more.
Well, it's been a slew of disruptions ever since that fateful AI-171 crash in Ahmedabad. In fact, that flight, because of the international norms, once there is a crash of a particular flight number, that is then parked and set aside, and that was rebranded as AI-159, and that also got cancelled. It was the first flight, Ahmedabad-London flight, that also got cancelled. So it's been a slew of disruptions. Let's try and see which ones. First up, it was the Air India Delhi-Paris flight that stood cancelled. That was cancelled because of a technical snag. Now, reason cited was technical snag. The next flight was from Paris to Delhi, that is scheduled for the 18th of June. So clearly this was the aircraft that was going to go back and come back. So that was another flight that now stands cancelled. The reason is consequences of the Delhi-Paris flight being cancelled. Then the AI Ahmedabad-London, AI-159, that also cancelled. Reason, unavailability of the aircraft. That's what was said. Another AI London-Amritsar flight was also cancelled. The reason cited that this is an operational issue. Moment one aircraft doesn't fly because there are multiple routes, it's like a domino effect. That's what it looks like, especially with these Air India international flights, especially with the Dreamliners. We'll ask Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, who's with us, but let's just quickly take you through some of the other details. The Air India San Francisco, Kolkata, Mumbai, this was actually deplaned, saying there was a technical issue. Then the Air India Hong Kong Delhi flight, it actually returned. Reason saying there was a technical snag, there was some fault, and that's why they, because of safety measures, they came back. The Air India Mumbai Ahmedabad, again scheduled for the 16th of June, AI-159, because of an operational issue, again has been cancelled. Air India Express, Delhi Ranchi, it also returned shortly after takeoff. This happened on the 16th of June. Reason, again technical issue. London to Bengaluru, the flight was cancelled amid probe into the Dreamliner 787. Now, these are the multiple disruptions that we've seen. Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, please educate our viewers and tell us why these disruptions are suddenly happening.
Hi, good evening, Anand. What I could make out from all these disruptions, primarily maybe because of the extended checks which have been ordered on the Dreamliner by the regulator, also by the company. And as far as, and it's a consequential effect when your aircraft, because one aircraft goes, then it has to come back also. So if the departing aircraft originating is cancelled, naturally the other one also will get cancelled. As far as the technical, the snags are concerned, that's
Now, how do you explain technical snag? This is a very broad term. What is a technical snag?
See, the technical snag can be in anything which has to do with the flight operations, right? But maybe not critical to the air safety, right? So it may have, technical snag that navigation, some system is not working, or maybe some switch is not working, or seat is not something, and anything which can, which can come under the technical things, which is not, as per the operations, or it doesn't come under the weather thing. So what happens? It may not affect the air safety or the flight safety, or the airworthiness of the aeroplane. So it doesn't require immediate attentions. There are some snags which are something deferred, like paint peeling off. That's also is a technical snag or something. So it's okay, that will be done in the next painting or something, or that's all. So but and something which doesn't affect the air safety. So that comes under something which can
okay, let me ask you something. at a time like this, sometimes what happens is when you get into an aircraft, एक seat काम नहीं कर रहा, उसका एक screen है, that screen is not working, something is hanging from somewhere and that box has been fitted. Now all of that is that technical snag, and will now pilots and crew say we will not fly till this is fixed?
No, that comes under passenger comfort actually.
Passenger comfort.
Yes.
It's not a technical snag.
It's not technical.
But if there is something exterior of the plane, some flap which is not coming up properly, something like that.
Absolutely. Anything which has to do with the technical, with the making the aircraft airworthiness may or may not. The technical.
When we
snag.
last spoke, you said one faulty switch here and there. Sometimes we fly. When we land, we then tell them replace it.
It depends.
Now, is that faulty switch is also being reported?
I don't know. Maybe yes. What the regulator has said or what the company has said that everything will be. It so happens that sometimes that this is a snag, but yes, it is not that which is affecting the flight safety of the aeroplane. The aircraft can take off and then we can get rectified at the home base. So, and naturally the aircraft, the engineer clears the aircraft for the flight or maybe subsequent flight. Like for example, domestic flights, we don't require the auxiliary power unit. So that can be put under a deferment. But that's a big snag, but the aircraft still fly worthy. So it depends now what is the regulator or the company has said.
Is it also because, and let me ask you on a lighter note, is it because some people are saying that a lot of ex-Vistara pilots or those pilots who are unhappy with the merger are now saying, thoda Air India ko hum mazak sakate hain. Or some pilots are saying, you blame us, right? When something happens, tragedy happens, you blame us, now fix everything, otherwise we won't fly. So, these two things, is it possible?
No, I will not comment on that because being a pilot, yes, these, I would say on the lighter side, the grudges are always there. That why do every time, you think that the pilot nahi kiya hoga, that's not the, the thing which is always correct. Human error is there, but at the most of the time it is, the external factors as well, weather and technical everything, which will, maybe, result with an accident or something, incident. So it's not true that, your personal grudges, always every company has got this.
No, but is it also possible sometimes the pilots are asked to fly an aircraft even though the pilot believes it's not 100%, doesn't affect passenger safety, but somewhere it is 98, 99%, not 100%. And they say, अरे उड़ाना है यार, there is an operational issue, चला लो हम ठीक करा देंगे, maintenance हो जाएगा, next week करा देंगे, ये नहीं इस week नहीं हो. Do these things happen?
No, it doesn't happen like this. The aircraft has to be cleared by the engineer, and it has to be technically cleared. Only then the pilot will accept the aircraft.
Okay.
Even though the pilot might say at times, yes, I feel that this thing has to be repaired only then or attended to only then I will fly the airplane.
Okay.
But it depends upon the case to case basis, not always.
Okay.
It depends.
Okay, let's understand another external factor. It's not necessarily just because of the flight conditions. What happens now? If you can walk to that screen, Captain. This what we have tried to do is we have tried to use flight radar just to show the amount of air traffic that is happening in the Indian airspace. You see the Pakistani airspace, limited flights because it still stands closed for Bharat. Then there is also trouble brewing in this region. This entire airspace is empty because of what's happening between Israel and Iran.
Absolutely.
So there are no flights there. So this practically, if you were to see, and if I may use a marker pen here to show to our viewers, now all the flights from Bharat, this region, here, okay, all of this region, they have to, if they have to fly to Europe, do they use this passage? Do they use this passage?
Yes.
So they have to, this is the shortest route.
Yes.
Now, since this whole passage is closed, how does a flight, say from Jaipur or Ahmedabad is somewhere here, Delhi is here, how does this fly?
Yeah, this has to go via Mumbai. That's what you can see on the screen.
So they have to come here.
Absolutely.
And then they have to fly on this route.
Yes.
Is it like this? It's a longer route?
You can see on the screen what the aircraft are flying.
All flights are flying here.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how much of additional time does this add?
It depends actually. What route you are taking depends on the aircraft and everything. Yes, it will take some additional time plus the fuel. Now, if the fuel is there and then I don't know whether they can then go direct to Europe or they have to take a refueling halt in between. But if they have to take, then where do they take? And then if they don't have to take, then they have to compromise with the load, whether they reduce the load.
Because the Ahmedabad flight that was supposed to fly from here, this is Ahmedabad.
Yes.
Now the Ahmedabad flight, one of the reasons they said is that too much of turnaround time. Now what is this turnaround time? कि भाई मेरे को लंबा route जाना है. So delay may 1 ghanta late. We are late by about 1.5 hours. But for me to now travel this distance, longer route, go there and then to come back, it's too much of turnaround time. What does that mean?
See, it depends, if the flight has to land somewhere in between, do we have, the company over there to look after refueling of that airport in that country where you are planning to schedule? Now it is something like a scheduled stop. Because earlier you're flying over Pakistan, Iran airspace, you go directly into, via Turkey, you go to the Europe. Direct. That's the shortest route. Like, I used to fly to Dubai from Pakistan, Iran, and then come back to and fly over here to Dubai. So, but now in case you need to take a detour or go like this, definitely it will be requiring a longer route. Longer route means more fuel and more time.
This was the shortest route.
Yes.
So, ये तो अब कट गया पूरा.
Absolutely.
यहाँ से तो आप उड़ ही नहीं सकते. So you have to go like this. This is the route taken. Now in this case, airports like Heathrow and Gatwick, they have a raat mein you can't land also. There are flights, the airport is shut down for air traffic in the night, isn't it? International flights, like in Heathrow, they say that between 11 p.m. 12 midnight or 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. there is no air traffic because the locals have complained.
Okay.
So if that also comes into play, कि सामने वाले airport पे land कर सकते हैं कि
absolutely. Then the flights have to be rescheduled. Now the flights have to be cancelled or rescheduled because they will work out what is my arrival time over there. Because of this extended route, the flight time will change. The flight time will change, and because of the zone time and you're going in the westerly direction, depends what time the flight is going to reach now. So and do we have a slot with the airport there or not? So for that, then you have to reschedule your flight accordingly.
Well, so viewers, one of the reasons why so many disruptions and checks. So there are additional checks that take some time, that adds to the additional flight time because this longer route has to be taken. And if the arrival airport shuts down by the time this has to go, there is a 5-6 hours in the night when London, Heathrow, Gatwick don't operate. For international flights specifically, domestic also doesn't operate. So at that time they can't land. So then what happens? So this entire thing gets disrupted and it's a domino effect. Thank you for that, Captain. Let's come back and let's talk a little more on RAT. That is the ram air turbine.
Right.
Now, this ram air turbine aspect is being spoken about, and we discussed about this with the 787. And if you were to look at the ram was visible, along with it, what was visible as we'll fire the animation here that will come here on the screen is that the landing gear and the wing flaps. You had a deduction based on what we saw that the landing gear was out, the flaps were in a particular position, and the rat was also out. What was your understanding of why this happened?
Yes, you see, that's what I'm saying. The reports are saying that the rat is out. So that has to be confirmed by, first of all, by the investigating agency. Everybody is seeing the video and the footage. I'm presuming if the rat is out, okay, that I'm not confirming as of now, because I'm also getting from the social media. If the rat is out, that means the other power generations have been lost in the aircraft. That means the generators by the main engines, the generators by the auxiliary power unit, and the last thing is the rat. So rat comes out, though the moment any power generation by the main power generators, by the engines, the moment they are lost, the rat automatically falls down. APU starts, the rat comes out. So now the APU, as I said yesterday.
You said the rat automatically falls out.
Absolutely.
That happens only with the 787, that it automatically drops?
Yes. It happens with other aircraft also, but in Airbus 320 you can manually deploy the rat as well. So that also depends, but in 787 it comes down automatically. And as I said yesterday, that the APU takes around 60 to 90 seconds to come online.
APU is here.
Yes,
that is the auxiliary power unit.
Yes, that also has got 2 generators. Okay, so that takes 60, as per the document, 60 to 90 seconds. So in the meantime, what happens is the rat, there's something, you cannot have a blackout within the cockpit where the node, because everything is electrical and electronics. So all the displays, can't have a blackout. So the rat comes out to provide the power supply to the critical systems, to the displays, to the communication, to the navigation, and to the FADEC. All the criticals, to the fuel pumps, all these things is provided by the rat till the time the APU comes online and takes over the load.
Let me just move the animation a little further and ask you. Now, we said that because there was no electrical supply, this landing gear, which was seen folding in, it was a little forward, right? What does that imply?
And I said yesterday also that it depends, at what stage the power generation was lost. So when you put the lever up, that's what I was reading in the documents, And when you put the lever up, initially the landing gear goes slightly forward and then they goes inside. So what the video, like what is posted on the social media, and people have said that the landing gear was slightly in the forward position. Maybe it looks to me, and it's all appears, it's all the theory which is, and so nothing can be conclusive till the time the investigation is out. So that means the lever had been moved up, and the process of landing gear up was initiated. That's what my own personal thing.
Like it happens with us often, ki switch on kiya or power off ho gaya.
Because maybe it takes time.
It has been put there, but perhaps that's when the electrical failure
you put the landing gear up, the electrical signal goes to the hydraulic, the motors and everything, and they starts moving it. So now during that process, that's what my own assessment is there. So that's where when the power generation has been lost.
That's where the power generation
power is lost.
Power has been lost. What I was wanting to understand from you is, now had the rat kicked in, or had there been some power supply present there for the pilots, the landing gear would have moved back in, that we would have seen.
Not through rat.
Not through rat.
Yes.
Oh, it won't have.
No.
But would that have allowed the pilot to perhaps switch the fuel tanks from the central fuel tanks to the...
No, that is all automatic. That's what
all
my
automatic.
Goes.
No. So what would the pilot have been able to do had rat kicked in and given him some amount of support?
What I think the rat did kick in, but since there was no height actually.
Elevation.
The aircraft was, there was no thrust development. The aircraft is so heavy, even if the rat is developing power, it is only a power generation. Where is the thrust coming? It is not starting the engine.
So I need that thrust.
I need the thrust for the lift.
Lift.
It is just electricity I am getting in the aircraft.
Yeah. So,
and with the rat, the landing gear will not come up.
And the thrust comes from these two engines which clearly look like they had shut down. Now let's come back to the most important part, the black box aspect. Let's move forward to that.
Okay.
Now, all this data, all this assessment is subject to what is recorded in the recorder. Now, there are two aspects what we understand. Please educate us in this. One is the cockpit voice recorder and the other one is the flight data recorder. These two become the black box components.
Yes.
But there is a very interesting facet that you want to highlight about the 787. So, tell our viewers about that.
787, what I was reading in the documents also, the 787 is the unique aircraft. It's only available aircraft in the India 787, which has got a combined unit of flight data recorder and a CVR. Generally, the black box comprises of two independent units, two different units. But in 787 Dreamliner, for the first time, they have come up with something like EAFR, that's called Enhanced Airborne Flight Recorder.
So, EAFR is part of the 787. Now, this is important, viewers, because unlike other aircraft where there are two separate components, that is a cockpit voice recorder and a flight data recorder, here in the 787 there is an EAFR. Now there is only one.
No, there are two.
There are two. Ek aage aur ek piche.
Absolutely.
So one here at the nose, which is called the Enhanced.
No, it is called Enhanced Airborne Flight Recorder. There are two units. It's one single unit, and it has both CVR and FDR both.
It's
together.
all mixed in one.
It's one. It's
so
called
if they have
LRU,
found
line
two,
replaceable unit.
if they have found two at the wreckage, that means they have found two EAFRs.
Yes.
It's not that they have found a CVR and a flight data recorder.
That's what.
They have actually found two EAFRs, one from the front side and one back near the fuselage, near the APU.
Near the tail position.
Near the tail position, near the APU.
Yes.
With that, now what will these two record?
See, they both are same thing. It's for basically it is for the redundancy, right? If one fails, the other one, both have the same. What is the documentation says that EAFR is a one combined unit which has CVR and FDR both. FDR records all the aircraft parameters, flight parameters, the aircraft height, the aircraft speed, the aircraft directions, the engine parameters, all the engine parameters, the systems parameters, then the attitude of the aircraft, the flight controls, what the pilot is doing with the ailerons, with the elevator, with the rudder, then what is the state of the aircraft, whether the landing gear is down, up, flaps, slats, slots, spoilers, everything is continuously recorded for 25 hours the moment power is given to the aircraft, whether it is on the ground through the ground power supply or from the battery or from the APU. The moment it powers up, it starts recording for the next 25 hours.
Now, this is recorded in code?
It's a digital record.
It's a digital record. Now, and is it encrypted?
I am not.
Who
very
has
sure.
access to this?
It is access to only people, those who are, investigative agency,
Investigative
sensitivity of the data.
So in Bharat, or will it go back to Boeing, or can it be investigated in?
We can. That's. I
So
not
the
be able to
NTSB
comment on that.
and we are given to understand that the investigation will be done, the decryption will be done in Bharat, and that the detail will come out. But my final question, Captain Bhatnagar, that will these two boxes, the comprehensive box number 1 and box number 2, which has both the voice recorder and the data recorder in it, in a 787, and there are 2 like that, will they be able to answer what happened exactly?
100%. Now, one more thing which is there after the aircraft which are registered and with certified after 2005, these EAFRs, they have got their independent power supply. It's called RIPS, Recorder Independent Power Supplies. That means that even after the crash, they have their own independent batteries. Even after the crash, for next 10 minutes, they will keep recording. What generally happens is generally whenever you have a crash prior to 2005, when the ICAO did not mandate this mandatory to have the recorders have an independent power supply, the moment power generation is gone to the disrupted to the CVR and FDR, the recording is to stop. Now, after 2005, I think it has been mandated that all the aircraft which are being certified by FAA and the EASA, they have to have an independent power supply. So now, I think in 171 also after the crash, for next 10 minutes, the moment power generation has gone, after that the 10 minutes, these lithium batteries would be supplying power to the both the EFRs, and 100% everything would have recorded even after the crash.
Even after the crash. So very important here that the EAFRs, there are 2 boxes. Both these boxes would have recorded not just the voice but also the data, but not just till the time of the crash or till the time power supply was lost, but even 10 minutes after the crash, because these 2 EAFRs, advanced data recorders, flight recorders, would have their own individual power supply that would allow it to function despite the crash and for 10 minutes after the crash. That's what Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar is telling us. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
On that note, we're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Let's talk about India as it has begun relocating students from Tehran's medical universities to safer zones amid the escalating Iran-Israel conflict. The Indian Embassy, in close coordination with Iranian authorities, is facilitating this on-ground movement now. Many have been advised to leave the capital using private transport. Separately, some Indian nationals have exited via Armenia. The MEA has said that the situation remains fluid and further advisories may follow. Over 1,500 students are to be evacuated, and the first batch is already en route via the Armenia corridor.
How has the experience been? Because it's very traumatizing to see that your children are there and then there are a lot of difficult times for you. How has it been like for a couple of days? How was it for you personally as a parent, as a father of 2 kids?
I never experienced such a... It was really trauma for me as well as for my children, but my children were they're very brave. Yeah. They really don't want to put us under any stress. It's not them only, all the children over there. But from the 3rd night, when the strikes grew more, intensity of the strikes was more, that was really, my daughter told, tonight it will be difficult for us. And I was talking to her on video, and she told me that something has struck, and I had heard a big explosion, and she started running downstairs. Running downstairs means to the ground floor, not any bunker, not any shelter, nothing. They were just standing in some corner or something like that. That was really painful.
There's a bit of helplessness on your
helplessness. That was very painful. That really was very painful.
So because now the government has started a process of at least moving them to a safer place, are you satisfied with the response that the government has given?
Definitely, we are satisfied. We all, not me only, all the parents, majority of the parents have said, really, now they are relieved, little bit, partially relieved, and they have been lodged in some hotels. They have been given buffet, breakfast and dinner. They will be served with dinner and lunch too.
And we're getting more updates on Indian students being evacuated from that Armenia route from Iranian universities. Remember, many of the medical students who are studying in Iran, in Iranian medical universities, also belong to the state of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And that's why the conversation that my colleague Ishan was having with one of the parents there, they are worried for the safe arrival of their kids, of their wards, and now we are putting out these latest visuals of the Indian students who are being taken out of Iran through the Armenia route. My colleague Siddhant is with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, here we have already spoken about how the Indian Ministry of External Affairs has in fact made arrangements so that about 1,500 of these students can be evacuated safely through this particular Armenia route. But what is the exact number of Indian students who are studying in Iran?
Well, Graham, we don't have the exact numbers, but the figure that is available in public domain, then it is somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 Indian students studying in various universities across Iran. And in fact, most of them were taken to safer places by the Indian embassy day before yesterday. In fact, yesterday also, some were taken to the safer places to Qom and other parts out of Tehran. And now we're getting to know, in fact, the ministry has confirmed the footages and videos are also available that one batch of Indian students have successfully managed to reach Armenia via road route. And in fact, these are 100 students in the first batch, 110 students. Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed this officially. There is a control room which has been set up at Ministry of External Affairs' headquarters. 4 helpline numbers have also been issued. Ministry has asked the Indians, those who have their businesses in Tehran, those who have the transport facility to move out of the city and go to the safer places. So this is an advisory which has come because right now the priority for the government of India is to evacuate the students and
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. In breaking news coming in, we're learning that the Israeli defense minister said that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, could face similar fate to Iraq's Saddam Hussein. Do remember Saddam Hussein, who served as the 5th president of Iraq, was overthrown during a US invasion of the country. And that's the kind of warning coming in from Israel in the latest. Going across to Siddhant Mishra, who joins us with more details. Siddhant, a similar warning came in from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well, who did not rule out regime change or the possible threat that Ayatollah Khamenei faces. How do we piece this together? How do we see these threats coming in from the top leadership in Israel?
Well, that's right. In fact, from last 24 hours, suddenly the tone of Israeli side has changed. In last 24 hours, Prime Minister Netanyahu, said that President Trump is the enemy number one for Iran. Then they are calling it 11th hour in the battle against Iran. They are giving their best to involve United States directly in this war. In fact, President Trump, cutting short his visit to Canada, returning to White House, perhaps saying that there is a much bigger purpose that I'm returning for, etc., etc. So, there have been a lot of indications in last 48 hours or so about Israel planning something really big in Iran. Now, what's going to be that? On the face, they are saying that they are going to target military and nuclear facility. But, there's a lot of chatter that the ultimate goal is to bring down the Iranian regime. And Israel has understood, since they have an upper hand in the combat right now. They have killed the top commanders of the Iranian forces, their nuclear facility, their military bases, their airplanes. So, they have an upper hand and they can do it. So, such statements perhaps being reported by Western media somewhere hints in that direction only.
Israel has indeed been claiming, Siddhant, that they have a clear edge over over Iran and its military capabilities as we speak. Thank you for joining us with those details. But yes, both the countries are trading strikes for a fifth day today. And on that note, I do want to bring in Zaipora, who migrated from Jewtown in Kochi to Israel. Hi, Zaipora. I hope you're doing well.
Greetings from Israel. Hello, I am Zipporah Meir from Israel.
Hi.
I am migrated from Kochi years back.
Okay, lovely to hear that. Can you take us through the latest situation? Earlier today, here in India, we've been breaking down details of how loud booms were heard in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem.
Yes.
Where are you speaking from? And give us a sense of the latest situation.
Yes, I'm speaking from Ramla. I'm living in Ramla. It's very close to the airport. It's a city in between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. See, over the since the beginning of the war with Iran, it's on Friday, actually 3 o'clock Friday, started the whole thing. Since then, until now, until today, the fifth day of the war, 400 missiles, ballistic missiles, are fired at the civilian people, on Israel. That's about the difference between Israeli strikes and Iranian strike. Israel is focusing on the military sides of Iran, but Iran, on the contrary, focusing to hurt the civilians of Israel. That's why in such a case, in case they have nuclear power in their hands, it's not the matter of only Israel. It's a threat to the whole world. That the world should understand. That's what Israel is fighting for. To destroy the nuclear weapon from the evil hands of Iran.
Zaipora, those are the kind of claims that are being made by Iran as well, that even though Israel is specifically targeting its nuclear infrastructure, military and intelligence infrastructure, several civilian lives have also been lost. But that said, what I do want to understand from you, given that this is a tense situation in Israel, what kind of safety protocols are you all being asked to follow? What's the ground situation in terms of, wanting to escape the Iranian assault?
Yes. We are here in Israel. We are all getting alerts. That means siren alerts before the missile attacks from Iran. That means about some 5 minutes before the attack, and another 10 minutes. That gradually they give us more time to get prepared. It's about 10 to 15 minutes we get prepared. We get the time. That according to that, all are getting to the safety places, either the safety rooms or the shelters or public shelters, wherever it is. We got inside the Israel home front, inform us about that. So if sooner we get the missile alert, we go to the room with some necessary water and necessary things in our hand, and also with the children all there. We get into the room, and until all clear signal we receive from the authorities.
Ms. Zaipora, hoping this shall pass, to stay safe, this contact with you and get in a word and update on what the latest situation is. Thank you for the moment. But that is time for us to head into a very quick break. That's all from me for now. Thanks for watching.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Let's talk about India as it has begun relocating students from Tehran's medical universities to safer zones amid the escalating Iran-Israel conflict. The Indian embassy, in close coordination with Iranian authorities, is facilitating this on-ground movement now. Many have been advised to leave the capital using private transport. Separately, some Indian nationals have exited via Armenia. The MEA has said that the situation remains fluid and further advisories may follow. Over 1,500 students are to be evacuated, and the first batch is already en route via the Armenia corridor.
How has the experience been? Because it's very traumatizing to see that your children are there, and then there are a lot of difficult times for you. How has it been like for a couple of days? How was it for you personally, as a parent, as a father of two kids?
Never experienced such a. It was really trauma for me as well as for my children. But my children were they're very brave. Yeah. They really don't want to put us under any stress. It's not them only, all the children over there. But from the third night, when the strikes grew more, intensity of the strikes was more, that was really, my daughter told, tonight it will be difficult for us. And I was talking to her on video, and she told me that something has stuck, and I had heard a big explosion, and she started running downstairs. Running downstairs means to the ground floor, not any bunker, not any shelter, nothing. They were just standing in some corner or something like that. That was really painful.
There's a bit of helplessness on your
helplessness. That was very painful. That really was very painful.
So because now the government has started a process of at least moving them to a safer place, are you satisfied with the response that the government has given?
Definitely, we are satisfied. We all, not me only, all the parents, majority of the parents have said, really, now they are relieved, little bit, partially relieved, and they have been lodged in some hotels. They have been given buffet, breakfast and dinner. They will be served with dinner and lunch too.
And we're getting more updates on Indian students being evacuated from that Armenia route from Iranian universities. Remember, many of the medical students who are studying in Iran, in Iranian medical universities, also belong to the state of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And that's why the conversation that my colleague Ishan was having with one of the parents there, they are worried for the safe arrival of their kids, of their wards. And now we are putting out these latest visuals of the Indian students who are being taken out of Iran through the Armenia route. My colleague Siddhant is with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, here we have already spoken about how the Indian Ministry of External Affairs has in fact made arrangements so that about 1,500 of these students can be evacuated safely through this particular Armenia route. But what is the exact number of Indian students who are studying in Iran?
Well, Graham, we don't have the exact numbers, but the figure that is available in public domain, then it is somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 Indian students studying in various universities across Iran. And in fact, most of them were taken to safer places by the Indian embassy day before yesterday. In fact, yesterday also, some were taken to the safer places to Qom and other parts out of Tehran. And now we're getting to know, in fact, the ministry has confirmed the footages and videos are also available that one batch of Indian students have successfully managed to reach Armenia via road route. And in fact, these are 100 students in the first batch, 110 students. Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed this officially. There is a control room which has been set up at Ministry of External Affairs' headquarters. 4 helpline numbers have also been issued. Ministry has asked the Indians, those who have their businesses in Tehran, those who have the transport facility to move out of the city and go to the safer places. So this is an advisory which has come because right now the priority for the government of India is to evacuate students and pilgrims first. And that is exactly being executed. A first batch has already reached. We could expect more students to reach Armenia in days to come. In fact, the other routes are also being explored, especially shipping route to UAE. In fact, Foreign Minister Jaishankar yesterday spoke to Emirati counterpart, and we've been told that that particular discussion was to seek the help of UAE in getting Indians evacuated. So, India is using all its diplomatic might to get help from the neighboring countries of Iran to get Indian students evacuated. But given the dynamics, the situation is evolving with each passing hour, and it has drastically changed in last 24 hours. One was expecting before Saturday, that this was done to put pressure on Iran to come to the tables and lock the deal with the United States. But it was much bigger, and it went beyond that. both sides have climbed up the escalatory ladder, and in fact, it looks like there's going to be no end to it anytime soon. And so now, first batch has already reached Armenia. The other students will also be evacuated. Embassy staff is very much present in Tehran. In fact, the embassy is doing the best arranging buses, transportation for the students to be taken to the safer places.
Siddhant, because of the crisis, the ongoing conflict, this is the route that is the safest. That is what the Indian authorities are deciding for the Indian students to be taken out of Iran. But does it become longer for the students? Just explain to us the dynamics of the Armenia route.
Well, look, going by the past experiences, in fact, the Indian government has done evacuation many times in the past, from war in Yemen to Ukraine to war in Sudan. So the teams here in the ministry and people in the Indian staff.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. There is a red alert in Indian skies. Ever since the horrifying crash of Air India 171 in Ahmedabad, everyone has been on tenterhooks. Authorities, airlines, crew, passengers. Not only do we not know any reasons for this unprecedented sort of crash seconds after takeoff, we are now witnessing various mid-air scares and pre-flight cancellations due to technical snags and delays caused due to checks, particularly on Air India flights. Is this just heightened concern post the crash? Or as some suggest, pilots and crew are now no longer turning a blind eye to issues they see but were reluctant to raise earlier. More than one expert linked to the Indian aviation sector has pointed out that while no one wants to die, internal pressures force pilots and crew to not formally raise aircraft concerns lest the airline should suffer delays and losses. Is this what is happening now with Air India? Certainly, both the DGCA and the airline concerned have to do more and quickly to restore passenger faith. In this regard, a meeting was held today which DGCA has asked for a few things from Air India. For example, the aviation watchdog has asked for the training data of the pilots concerned. We do know that deceased Captain Sumit Sabharwal had some 8,000 plus flying hours and was also an Air India instructor. His co-pilot Clive Sundar had 1,100 hours of experience. Then the details of the flight dispatcher has been asked for. This is a certified professional who works alongside pilots to plan and monitor flights, ensuring they are safe and efficient. They are essentially the ground pilot and are jointly responsible with the pilot for the operational control of a flight. And finally, the details of the